AI connected to the human brain, can thoughts be read? Delves into one of the most mind-bending frontiers of science, the fusion of artificial intelligence with the human mind. This video explores how brain-computer interfaces are evolving, how AI can decode neural signals, and whether it's truly possible to read or even influence thoughts. From medical breakthroughs to ethical dilemmas, discover how this technology could transform humanity's understanding of consciousness, and what happens when machines begin to understand our minds. For centuries, the human mind has been the ultimate black box, a private sanctuary of thoughts, dreams, and secrets. But what if that sanctuary had a key? What if a machine could unlock the door to our innermost consciousness? This isn't the plot of a science fiction movie. It's the rapidly advancing reality of neurotechnology, where artificial intelligence is learning the language of the brain. Today, we stand on the precipice of a new era, one where the line between human thought and machine intelligence is blurring. The fundamental question we must confront is no longer if machines can connect to our brains, but what they will find when they do. Can our thoughts truly be read? This journey will take us deep into the labyrinth of the mind, exploring the incredible potential and profound risks of a future where our brains are no longer our own. The foundation of this technological revolution lies in what are known as brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs. These are the bridges that connect the biological world of our neurons to the digital world of computers. At its core, every thought you have, every memory you recall, every emotion you feel, is a complex pattern of electrical and chemical signals firing across billions of neurons in your brain. For decades, scientists have been developing ways to listen in on this neural conversation. Early methods involved non-invasive techniques like electroencephalography, or EEG, where electrodes are placed on the scalp to pick up the faint electrical rhythms of the brain. While groundbreaking, EEG can only provide a noisy, generalized overview of brain activity, like trying to understand a conversation in a crowded stadium by listening from outside. To get a clearer signal, researchers turned to more invasive methods. Electrocorticography, or ECG, places electrodes directly on the surface of the brain, offering a much more precise reading. The most detailed data, however, comes from microelectrode arrays implanted deep within the brain tissue itself, capable of recording the activity of individual neurons. For years, the challenge with these interfaces was not just recording the signals, but making sense of them. The raw data from the brain is an incomprehensibly complex storm of information. This is where artificial intelligence has become the indispensable partner. AI, particularly deep learning and neural networks, possesses the remarkable ability to identify patterns within massive, chaotic datasets. By feeding these AI models countless hours of brain activity data, paired with corresponding actions, images, or words, scientists can train them to become fluent in the language of the brain. The initial applications of this powerful synergy have been nothing short of miraculous, focused on restoring function and communication to those who have lost it. Consider the case of individuals with paralysis, locked-in syndrome, or severe motor neuron diseases. For them, the brain can still form the intention to move a limb or speak a word, but the connection to the muscles is broken. BCIs empowered by AI can circumvent this damage. By implanting a BCI in the motor cortex, the part of the brain that controls movement, researchers can capture the neural signals associated with the intention to move. An AI algorithm then decodes these signals in real time and translates them into commands for a robotic arm or a cursor on a screen. We have witnessed patients, paralyzed for years, learn to feed themselves, write emails, and even feel the sensation of touch through advanced prosthetic limbs that send sensory feedback directly back to the brain. The progress extends beyond motor control into the realm of communication. In recent landmark studies, AI models have been trained to decode the brain activity associated with speech. By analyzing the neural patterns that occur when a person imagines speaking, these systems can reconstruct words and sentences with astonishing accuracy. For someone unable to speak due to a stroke or other conditions, this technology offers the chance to have their voice heard again, literally translating their thoughts into audible speech or text on a screen. These are not just incremental improvements, they represent a fundamental restoration of human agency and connection, proving that the fusion of AI and the brain can mend what was once considered irrevocably broken. These medical breakthroughs are the compassionate and compelling vanguard of neurotechnology, showcasing its immense power for good. However, the same technology that can restore speech also opens the door to a far more profound and unsettling possibility: reading the thoughts of an able-bodied person. If an AI can learn to decode the neural signals for intended speech, can it also learn to decode the signals for unspoken internal monologue? Can it decipher the images in your mind's eye, the memories you are recalling, or the emotions you are trying to conceal? This is the ethical and philosophical core of the thought-reading debate. Researchers are already making significant strides in this direction. In controlled experiments, AI has successfully reconstructed images that a person is viewing by analyzing their brain activity from fMRI scans. The resulting images are still blurry and dreamlike, but they are recognizably similar to the originals, proving the principle that visual information can be extracted directly from the brain. The implications of perfecting such a technology are staggering. Imagine a world where your employer could verify your focus, where advertisers could see your genuine reaction to a product, or where law enforcement could sift through your memories for evidence. The very concept of privacy would be redefined. Our thoughts have always been the final frontier of personal freedom, a space where we can be completely and utterly ourselves without judgment or consequence. The advent of AI-powered thought decoding threatens to demolish this final wall. The potential for misuse is immense. Authoritarian regimes could use it to identify and suppress dissent before it is ever spoken. In legal systems, it could lead to a terrifying scenario of thought crimes, where individuals are judged not for their actions, but for their fleeting intentions or unwelcome mental imagery. This brings us to the monumental ethical dilemmas that lie at the heart of this technology. Who should have access to the data from our brains? Who owns our thoughts once they are digitized? How do we ensure consent when the very tool being used could potentially influence or override our capacity to consent? We must establish incredibly robust legal and ethical frameworks before this technology becomes widespread. This includes defining neural rights, the right to mental privacy, the right to personal identity, and the right of agency over one's own thoughts. Without these safeguards, we risk creating a world of unprecedented surveillance and control, where the most intimate parts of our being are commodified and manipulated. Furthermore, the technology might not stop at simply reading thoughts. The connection is a two-way street. Just as a BCI can read signals from the brain, it can also write signals to the brain. This process, known as neural stimulation, is already used in treatments like deep brain stimulation for Parkinson's disease, where electrical impulses help regulate motor function. But as AI becomes more sophisticated, the potential for influencing thoughts, emotions, and decisions becomes frighteningly real. Could an external device subtly nudge you to feel happier, more anxious, or more inclined to make a certain purchase? Could it implant false memories or alter existing ones? This capability to influence or even control the mind represents a line that many believe should never be crossed. It challenges our fundamental understanding of free will and personal identity. If our feelings and decisions can be manipulated by an external algorithm, in what sense are we still us? The rapid pace of development in this field demands a global conversation. This is not a matter for scientists and engineers alone. It requires the input of ethicists, lawyers, policymakers, and the public. We must weigh the incredible promise of healing and restoration against the profound threat to our autonomy and privacy. The challenge is to chart a course that allows us to harness the therapeutic benefits of brain-computer interfaces while building impenetrable safeguards against their misuse. This may involve creating new regulatory bodies, mandating privacy by design in all neurotechnologies, and fostering a culture of ethical responsibility among researchers and corporations in the field. As we look toward the future, the fusion of AI and the human brain promises to be one of the most transformative and potentially disruptive technologies in human history. It holds the key to curing debilitating neurological conditions and unlocking new potentials for human creativity and communication. Yet, it also forces us to confront the most fundamental questions about what it means to be human. It compels us to define the boundaries of the self and to protect the sanctity of the mind. The journey into the inner world of the brain has begun, with AI as our guide and interpreter. The path we choose to take, one of empowerment and healing, or one of surveillance and control, will depend entirely on the wisdom and foresight we apply today. The quest to understand consciousness is leading us to a point where machines might not only understand it, but also interact with it. What happens when machines begin to understand our minds will ultimately define the next chapter of the human story.